Amending the Constitution is a serious endeavor that shouldn't be taken lightly. This fall, Floridians are going to vote on 6 different constitutional amendments. In this video, I'm going to quickly summarize each one of them and point out any controversy where it exists. Let's jump in. Amendment number 1, school board elections. Years ago, Floridians decided that school board elections should be non-partisan, meaning no political parties are involved. And on the election ballot, you don't see a Republican or Democrat next to the person's name when you vote. The idea was, let's keep it about the kids and keep the politics out of the classroom. Well, things have changed. If you believe it's important to know the political affiliation of the person you're voting for when you're talking about school board elections, you're going to vote yes here. Amendment number 2 is the right to fish and hunt. If passed, hunting and fishing will be enshrined as a constitutionally protected activity in Florida. The opposition has been out of shape on this based upon the language that makes hunting and fishing the preferred method of wildlife management. They believe that science can do it better. The truth is that hunters and fishermen are some of the most passionate conservationists that I know. Hunting and fishing has been used as a tool in wildlife management since the start of wildlife management. Florida's wildlife management problems can be demonstrated by the python outbreak down in the Everglades. They're eating all the small game. Foxes, possums, squirrels, rabbits, they're all decimated. Science hasn't been able to fix this problem. It's been a joint effort of hunters and science. And that's still barely scratching the surface. To make hunting and fishing the preferred method does not eliminate the ability to use scientific approaches. All that being said, I'm still torn on this amendment. There's a legal maxim that suggests you should only modify the Constitution when required. And I'm not sure that we're at a point where this is required. Convince me down below in the comments. Amendment number 3, recreational marijuana. If passed, possession of up to 3 ounces of green leafy marijuana or 5 grams of THC concentrate would not be a violation of Florida state law. Initially, medical marijuana treatment centers would be the only licensed entities authorized to sell, manufacture, grow, produce, and otherwise distribute marijuana or marijuana products. However, the legislature will retain the right and the power to issue out licenses to other business entities, or anyone, I guess. But I don't think they're going to be giving the license out for individual use or home grows. If you've followed this bill at all, you've likely heard that Governor Ron DeSantis is directly opposing this bill.
It is the broadest language I think I've ever seen. Basically, nobody could ever be regulated or penalized in any way for possessing or using this. I mean, what, you can't regulate it near a school? You can't tell people you can't smoke? I mean, it seems to supersede any other regulatory regime that we have. So from a quality of life perspective, if you can't do time, place, and manner restrictions, that is going to impact every Floridian in one way or another.
So what's he talking about there? Let's take a look at the language. The non-medical personal use of marijuana in compliance with this section is not subject to any sanctions under Florida law. So what does that mean? Governor DeSantis' interpretation is that the local governments and the state legislators will not be able to create laws that limit use. That seems crazy. At first, you'd think that marijuana would be controlled and regulated much like alcohol, tobacco, or maybe even like over-the-counter medicine with ephedrine, where you got to sign it out. The difference between those substances and marijuana is that marijuana will now be enshrined with constitutional protections. It says you can't sanction me for use. Sanctioning me is kicking me off the sidewalk or stopping me from using where I want to use it. So what gives? I can imagine a scenario where Orlando places a limitation on the use of marijuana in the public on the sidewalk, and then that law is challenged unconstitutional. The question becomes, is the city allowed to create ordinances that regulate the use of marijuana despite the constitutional protection? I don't know exactly how it's going to play out, but I believe the courts will find a liberal interpretation of the constitutional amendment and allow cities to place limitations on the use of marijuana with respect to time, place, and location, not allow you to smoke on the sidewalk. I wish Ron DeSantis would have taken the lead on a non-constitutional pathway to recreational marijuana, but he did not and he will not. So while I agree with him that I don't like this bill, you had your chance. Amendment number 4, the right to an abortion. The current law in Florida allows a woman to receive a voluntary abortion up to the first 6 weeks of pregnancy. After that 6-week period, there must be a medical necessity or other qualifying circumstances to obtain the same abortion. If passed, the time frame a woman could obtain a voluntary abortion would change from 6 weeks to the point of viability. That's generally seen as 23 to 24 weeks. The language of the bill does concern me a little bit with regards to minors. The amendment says no law can restrict abortions at all. If a minor gets an abortion, parental notification can be required by the legislature. This creates a problem when you talk about minors because there's a parental notification aspect, but not parental consent. If a minor wants to get an abortion, the new constitutional amendment does not prohibit the legislature from creating notification laws for parents, but the constitutional amendment prohibits those laws from delaying the abortion. What does that mean? The doctor can notify you 1 minute before going into the procedure? We tried. We left you a voicemail. You've been noticed. Parental notification is not the same thing as parental consent. Amendment number 5, homestead exemption. This amendment connects the value of your homestead exemption to the rate of inflation. If the rate of inflation goes up by 5%, then the value of your homestead exemption goes up by 5% to offset that difference. Local governments will have less money from tax revenue and may have to increase taxes through local votes. Amendment number 6, campaign finance repeal. The idea behind campaign finance is that an individual citizen without any financial backing or political party support could rise up in a state election using taxpayer-funded campaigns. Everything about campaign finance seems bad. The government is simply not good at regulating this type of activity. Let me know if I got this one wrong. I appreciate you watching. Get out to vote.